Step back three for the tie. Oh, he's done it again. They get it to him. More in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. Moore cuts back. Touchdown. Each one more.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Boiler Express podcast. I'm your host, Damon, or the Ultimate Boiler. We've got the crew here, Frank, Dylan, Chris. Guys, I'm glad to see that Dylan and Chris, I'm glad to see you didn't wear your matching shirts, you little weirdos.
Hey, it's hockey season, boys. It's hockey season. Let's go.
Glad that didn't happen, though. I was going to make fun of you guys if you did that, but sorry. So yeah, we played a football game this weekend. That did happen.
Tough choice of words, but you could say that.
There was football that was played. Now the caliber of football, that's a different story. But I do just want to give a big shout out to Ohio State for filling up probably 90% of our intro video with all the great times that we've had in the past playing against you guys in various sports. So shout out to Eric and the Ohio podcast and everybody else at Ohio State I
got to meet those guys. Good folks. Glad to see Chris is alive. He barely made it, but he did it. He made it there. That's tough. That's tough trek for him, but he made it.
Oh wow, he did make it. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I saw him in the flesh. All right, he looked a little pale.
He's real. He's
real. He's alive, which was great. And first I saw Eric and Aaron, and then I said, "Where's Chris?" And they're like, "Oh, he's coming." And Chris is just walking, man. Like,
they just left him behind.
I said, God forbid you help your friend here, bud. It's like, what are we doing? Anyway, great people, love them. They kept the hard hat. I got to wear the hard hat, but we don't get to keep it this year because obviously we lost.
Right.
But it's a really, really cool hard hat, and I can't wait to see it in like 10 years.
Hey, so for anyone who doesn't know, what Dylan's referring to is with the collaborative podcast we did with the OHIO podcast. They actually created a hybrid Purdue Ohio State helmet. And the winner of the game, hard hat helmet. The winner of the game got to keep it. So it's half Purdue, half Ohio State with the Buckeye leaves on it. So
glad Frank's there to be the adult because I'm not explaining anything. I'm just saying.
Oh no, yeah, just yeah. In case anyone was confused as to why we're talking about
They're always confused when I talk. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we weren't able to secure that one, but
I think Russ said, don't we play them like 4 or 5 times in the next 6 years?
I think it's like for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Does the hard hat rivalry count for basketball? Because then we see it.
No, because
that wouldn't be fair.
And then you got a few games there.
And if it comes to me, nobody's ever going to see it again.
Yeah, it'll disappear in the pit that Damon has somewhere in his house.
Well, last year we broke Ohio State's season season in basketball season. They were great, and then we beat them, and then they just crumbled.
I did get to high five the big nut, so that was certainly something. Yeah.
Is that the official mascot name, the big nut?
Yeah, that's his name. No, that's Brutus, the super fan.
Oh,
okay. The super fan. No, okay. Brutus's name is not the big nut. He's technically, I guess, a big nut.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was. I didn't know it had a name.
And then I saw the cowboy
on like verbiage and
how we that's his name. Okay, he doesn't think you're going to be perverted about it. All right.
Yeah, but I have a 7-year-old mind.
So. Well, I mean, that's why we get along so well.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed this.
This is true.
But no, and then I saw the guy with the cowboy hat that according to Eric, that every Ohio State fan hates. He was walking alone, so it did seem
it checked out.
It checked out.
Stone Cold Stunner him.
I just saw the cowboy hat and he's walking all by himself, and I was like, oof. But the big nut travels with a gaggle of Ohio State fans. I mean,
entourage.
An entourage, and then you got the cowboy hat guy. I don't know what he calls himself, but he's alone, all by his lonesome.
When I was there in 2018, there was I saw the guys that you're talking about too, but the dudes that sat right in front of us. What's going on, Cody? Cody Michael.
Cody, I'm sorry I missed your tailgate, dude. That's on me. I'm bad at scheduling.
life.
Yeah, we all need to like bum rush Cody's tailgate because we've gotten that invite a couple times now. We've all missed it.
Well, I was the only one at the Ohio State game. The one game I made this year. And
a lot of us have been to other
Chris.
games this year. So
I got to see Chris. He was technically working, but he wouldn't give me a ride to the stadium, so that was kind of hurt. But
you should have done something illegal to like be. Then you could have gotten a ride.
I just wanted. All I was asking was for a police escort to the stadium. Is that a big ask? Is that
we were mucho busy, so
whatever.
Oh, there's 60,000 people all in one central area. It's a security risk.
Oh, you were working when there's a Big Ten game of the number 2 team in the country. Act like you're busy, will you? Jeez.
Yeah, right.
So speaking of games, number 2 team, Dylan, you were there, as you just mentioned. What was the atmosphere like at the game?
Not great. I mean, at first it was cool, right? The kickoff was great. They were supposed to say cancer sucks. They didn't. They kept with IU. So, that was something. And then the weather wasn't bad. It wasn't that cold. Granted, I thrive in cold weather. But then like after halftime, everyone's gone except for Red. And then they started the OHIO chant, and it made me so upset. It made me so mad. And it seemed like I was talking to Eric before the game, and he said there were Ohio State fans that bought their tickets for under $20.
Mm-hmm.
$20. So that means like Purdue fans, maybe even season ticket holders, were just trying to get rid of their ticket because they didn't want to go to the game. So that kind of stinks, in my opinion, because it was there. I mean, I've been to like the last 2 or 3, maybe 4 Ohio State coming to Purdue games, and there's been a lot of red, but this was the most red I've seen in ever, I think. But other than that, it was my first game this season, so my first time seeing the Taylor Tunnel, first time seeing the renovations in the South End Zone. Looks great, looks awesome. I don't know how they got in there, but there were even some Ohio State fans in the student section. How that happens, I don't know.
I feel like that always happens.
That
I imagine there's some students who are Ohio State fans, maybe.
Still, that's a student that needs drop kicked.
When they maybe kicked out of the. I hate to sound dramatic.
From Ohio.
By the way, Michaela asked, "How are you guys?" Michaela, I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
I'm great. I'm standing up, boys. I don't know if I've said this.
And Cody, November 11th, come party with us.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I'm sad. This may be the first time in maybe like over 10 years that I may not attend a home game.
What are we doing? God,
man, I have. Yeah, I mean, for 2 home games, I was out of the country. So, yeah, it may be. I'm not saying it will be, but the only game that there's potential hope for is Minnesota at home.
I'm just, every time I get pissed off, I'm just going to look away and yell something. And then walk back because I'm standing now. I'm mobile for the most point.
Do you have a standing desk?
No, I don't. It's currently on 2 storage tubs, a wooden stool, and then my computer. So no, I don't have a standing desk.
Okay, cool. I just thought you were
Those joints are expensive.
I've got a standing one.
And our budget here at the Boiler Express podcast does not do that. The t-shirt's the one t-shirt to exist. We got the budget for the one t-shirt. What are you doing there, Chris? You levitating?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like it, yeah.
Where's Russ? Is Russ okay?
Yeah, Russ.
Oh no,
Russ,
he's on a different podcast.
Yeah, Russ is on another podcast tonight. He did say he was going to be hopping.
He had to run for some Depends, I think.
That is if his internet works. He's using his wife's computer, so we'll see. He's using his Microsoft 97, tube. What do they call those things that when you turn on it makes the high pitched noise? He's using that.
Dial-up.
Sure, I guess.
56K.
Dude, I watched
sounds like a fax machine.
His wife, he has to yell at his wife to get off the phone. Get off the phone.
I saw a TikTok the other day. This guy actually has like a Windows, like a Dell brick house computer with like the monitor and everything, and he plays like all the old school games from like the late 90s and early 2000s. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
To watch. I just kind of got stuck watching him play. I think he was like, I don't know how, but he was playing like the original like World of Warcraft. It was kind of crazy.
Oh, wow.
So I just kind of got lost I just kind of got lost in watching it, but no, it was pretty cool.
Hey Damon, that's a cool blitz board you have behind you.
Where did you
get that? Where'd you get that blitz board, bud?
Yeah, thank you for the not so subtle prompt there, Dylan. Before we get any farther into the podcast, I do want to give a big shout out to our partnership with Big Banner. You can check them out at bigbannersports.com. They've got the huddle. There's a sports. They have sports betting. They've got a podcast that covers every Big Ten team. Dylan's got his finger up. What's up, Dylan?
I was on the huddle last week with Eric, and I called JR the wrong name most of the podcast. So I apologize.
Jay, right?
I was calling him Jay.
At least you got half of it right.
I got half of it right. It's 2 letters. I got the first one. So
there's some than none, bro.
And he, God bless him, never said a word. Just let it happen.
I just snapped. I'd have been like, listen.
And like if I called Chris just 5-0, which I guess he is still.
Yeah,
if you take away the ghost. Anyway,
still
shout out to JR. I had a lot of fun on the
good comparison, nerd.
on the huddle. Yeah, no, it was real bad. But no, I had a lot of fun with Eric. I did 3 podcasts last week. I'm overworked.
You're a big deal. Okay, we get it.
No, I'm not. Stop it.
But yeah, so bigbannersports.com. You can check out all the podcasts. If you have nothing better to do with your life, you could, never mind. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, we've got the partnership with the Big Banner. We've got a partnership / sponsorship with martinvintage.com, which super excited to announce that they've got a really cool new shirt that just dropped. I like all of the helmets on the back of it.
Got you, Chris.
Stop it.
Got all the helmets on the back of it. It's pretty cool. I believe, what is it, 10% using code Boiler Express?
With the code BXP, you can get 10% off your next order at martinvintage.com. Nailed it. All right.
Dylan's hyped up tonight, you guys. I'm loving it.
I'm standing. It's a whole new world when you're standing up to do a podcast.
You can move around and be like,
that's the thing. I'm so mobile. I can grab random things.
I've got so much room for activities.
You need a deer head.
I just feel bad for anybody that's listening to this on Spotify or Apple. Apple Podcasts.
Our audio listeners. Yeah, I mean, so I did dive into the analytics. I think I sent it to you guys. 80% of people listen till the very end. That's gonna go down substantially.
Yeah, I tell them to use the hashtag Russ is old, and I'll send them like $5, and nobody does. It shows how much Russ is loved.
Well, let's address the elephant in the room here. How do we feel about the performance against Ohio State?
We're
halfway through the season now. Yeah, go ahead, Damon.
Before we do that real quick, also want to give a shout out to our sponsorship at Cincy Blitzboards or at Blitzboards on Twitter. Great product. Dylan's got his behind him. I've got mine behind.
Like a Price is Right model.
It's very good, very great quality. You can take it to tailgates. You can put it in your background for a podcast.
Chris, where's yours? Don't you have one?
Yeah, it's in my garage.
Figure it out.
Yeah, it's in his garage because he frequently uses it because it's such an awesome game to use.
There you go.
And you know me, I've got the pad for sports and whatnot, so we're always playing.
It's a Blitzboard is a sport. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wanted to get that in there real quick. But Frank, back to you. What were you saying about the?
Yeah, so I mean, it's halfway through the season now. We're on a bye week. Coaches are on the recruiting trail. Coming off a pretty bad loss to Ohio State. Just how are we feeling in general about the team? How are we feeling about the state of things? How are we feeling?
So I know I've been kind of a grumpy Gus the last couple of weeks or so. And I'm acknowledging it. So let's all pretty proud of myself for acknowledging that. But anyway,
don't do it. Nope.
First way to fix it, acknowledge you have a problem.
That was
last week. We had an addiction specialist on. Like things are trending in the right direction. Yeah,
he was on the right podcast.
Anyway, so I've been kind of negative the last couple of weeks. Obviously this past Saturday didn't help, but I started to just kind of look at the bigger picture here. And one thing that I'm kind of holding on to is that, it took, 2019. So that was Brahms' second or third year to get his best recruiting class with the most 4 stars that he had, which I believe was 6 in that class. And I don't remember what they were ranked, but I think it was like 26th or 25th maybe. So that took him, almost 3 years to get. Ryan Walters has almost gotten that with more 4 stars or not as many 4 stars, but has almost gotten that in 1 year. Literally not even been a full year yet. It'll be a year in December. So math, like 9 months, 10 months. And I think that's really impressive. Wow, he's here.
Hey!
Shout everybody.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Don't celebrate yet. Russ, say something.
No, I'm just kidding. I got you.
It's a miracle, boy.
I think we're good.
Russ.
Russ.
Hey, Dylan's standing up. I like that.
I know, right, dude? I
Let's
have
go.
a whole new energy to the podcast now that I'm
Hey,
standing
we
up.
got a comment here that Dylan you're gonna like from the huddle.
Woo!
Dylan,
That's what I'm
Hey,
talking about.
JR. I'll send
Yeah.
you one. This
got
is
your-
literally
you
the
got your
only
name
one we
right.
have in existence. The budget called for one T-shirt, and I got it.
And that was after Dylan went around panhandling before the game
It
on
took
Saturday.
me like 4 days to do it.
I definitely saw you at the intersection of Salisbury and Sagamore that day. I was like,
wouldn't
what the
even give
hell
me a
is he
ride.
So Russ,
why the beard
Russ
is
to
there.
kind of catch you up on what we were just talking about. Damon was acknowledging the fact that maybe he's been a little bit grumpy, and he was, I think, just starting to get
A
into
little bit.
the fact of looking at the bigger picture and
Been a
looking
tough
at
couple
the
weeks,
outlook
right?
on the future. So, yeah.
So yeah, I was talking about the recruiting class, how I think that he's already at a place that recruiting wise where Coach Brahma took him 2 to 3 years to get there. So that has me feeling some type of way. And if you break down some players individually, I think individually we have a couple of really great players, whether that's Dylan Thieneman or that's Nick Scorton. Tons of talent out there that I'm hoping and knocking on wood that we can keep these guys and just continue to build off of that. And then these recruits coming in next year, like our best recruit coming in is a safety. I don't know when the last time Purdue's best recruit coming into a season was a defensive player off the top of my head anyway.
I think GK3 probably, right?
Yeah,
probably.
true.
And Yanni, maybe
But
Also known
Yanni.
as George Karloftis.
Sorry, let
Super Bowl
me
champion.
classify that even more. Secondary defensive player, like somebody that's in the secondary, like
no
a safety
idea.
or DB.
That's been a long time.
Ricardo Allen was he pretty highly rated?
Rico.
Maybe Marvin Grant, not sure.
Yeah, Marvin Gray,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
a 4-star.
yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Still hopeful. Cody Abrams says still hopeful for a bowl game. Just glad that we have a bye week to get some of the guys healthy. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if
Agreed.
a bowl game's in the mix. I got a point. I can't. Every time I do this,
okay,
I'm in
think
the
about it.
logo.
Think about what Eric from the Ohio podcast said last week. We still have Minnesota. We still have Northwestern. We still have Indiana. We still
Okay.
have Nebraska.
Yeah. If there's one point that I want to make tonight, it's that I expected, even best case scenario, when I did 8-4, for us to start 1-3 in Big Ten play, because we literally had Wisconsin, Iowa, and Ohio State in our first 4 conference games, and in our last 5 is when we get Nebraska, Minnesota, Northwestern, and IU. So yeah, we definitely have a path to 6 games, 100% still, or 6 wins. Yeah.
Yeah, just our margin for error is just that much smaller now.
But
and
maybe
that's-
these guys like feed off pressure.
Yeah, maybe. And
I don't
honestly,
know. They're under pretty big pressure on Saturday. And,
well, in my opinion, Saturday
Not
was
great.
the first game where we just looked
Not great,
really.
Bob.
Yeah, I think this past Saturday against Ohio State was the first game where we just looked like the worst team.
Yeah.
Like we just looked like we didn't belong in the same league. I think felt like every other game. Honestly, I felt like had we played mistake-free football, we could have won. And that wasn't wasn't the case on Saturday. I just things looked good on that first drive. We were moving the ball, and and who knew field goal kicking was a problem now. As well. I mean, so
That's always something Purdue's like had a hard time with.
oh,
was
don't
finding,
even get me started on the field goal. Come down from the stands, kicks a 40-yarder, no big deal. Wins a 2-year car lease. Good for him. Oh,
Dylan,
kicker goes strolling out there.
Dylan,
Now who's having
You
issues?
just pulled a rush.
Now who's
rush.
yeah.
You just pulled a
Rush.
rush, man. Here we have a comment from Big Time
Yikes.
Huddle. We're on Ohio State streets that Ohio State went for Coy Beasley, but told him no for Purdue.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of, we can talk about recruiting for a second. Big recruit announced yesterday, Tavion Galloway. And that was a guy who, over the summer, it looked like he was pretty much a lock for LSU. And then was it Florida Atlantic? It was
No, UCF.
UCF.
Yeah, I thought he
I always
was
get
going
those
to-
Florida schools
I
mixed
thought
up.
he
They
was
own the
like
moon.
the fake space school. I thought he was for sure going there.
Yeah. And so, and honestly, he was a guy that, speaking of word on the streets was that, Walters had kind of stepped away from actively recruiting him and had kind of just put the ball in his court, said, "Hey man, I've made my pitch. You're either coming or you're not."
It's a baller move.
I mean,
I love that. I love that he's
that
not
was-
chasing.
Yeah, I mean, and that was reported because he was actively pursuing him over the summer. He was, it was definitely a big target, and he just said, "Hey, I've made my pitch. You're in or you're out," and he made the right decision. So,
and he's enrolling early too, so he's going to get to train and work out with the team and get that the
spring ball stuff,
spring ball, all that good stuff. And he's 6'6", a 6'6" tight end,
big boy.
I'm excited about that.
His build reminds me of a Gronk style tight end.
Oh,
yeah. What is he, like 6'6"? I think he's 230.
Something like that.
I wish I was 230.
And if he makes a transformation like Deion Burks did from last year to this year, like just body physique wise, holy crap.
Yeah, you're right, Huddle. Don't Jim Harbaugh it.
Yeah, we have a comment here from Big Ten Huddle. I love when coaches do that. Don't be begging kids. Couldn't agree more.
100%.
Looking at you, Jim Harbaugh.
And the fact that he's not going around chasing guys, knowing that he's got a job that is historically tough to recruit for in the Big Ten, especially when the climate for recruiting now is changing so drastically, where there's the NIL, there's all this money, there's all these deals and everything. The fact that he's still sticking to his guns and being like, dude, I gave you my pitch. If you don't want to come, peace out. I'll find somebody else. So I think that speaks high volumes.
And I don't think we're done based off of kind of the rumblings out of that major recruiting visit we had last week. Even though we lost, I still think we're going to get a bunch of
There's that 4-star offensive lineman that just decommitted from Michigan State that I've heard a lot of.
And a lot of Minnesota fans think he's going there, but he decommitted from Michigan State the day after he visited Purdue. So not saying one leads to the other, but
but that's always a good sign.
Yeah,
but when you're in a cult, it'll make you think crazy things. So.
That's true. Yeah.
And what's the biggest thing in college football and college sports lately? Is the transfer portal, right? We haven't even.
I thought it was the Fleck Bank.
So
allegedly.
Russ brings up a good point though, is even in like 6 months through the summer, Walters was doing a really good job when it came to recruiting out of the transfer portal, Hudson Card, and on top of others, Embo and Mbai and
Marquise Wilson,
all the
M's in the world. That now that he has a full year under his belt, and we've shown competency. Now I'm not saying we've played great. Obviously we haven't.
No.
There's been some things against us, injuries, scheme, play calling, schedule that have worked against us, but we've shown opportunities to play competently. We saw it against Illinois. We saw it against Virginia Tech. We saw parts of it against Fresno State, that I think he can take that video and be like, listen, this is what we're doing. We are going to get there. If you hop on now, you're going to be a part of the ride.
And it's also his first year, like being a head coach too. So he could, look back at the end of this year. I'm sure he's even done it as this year's gone on and be like, damn, I really thought that was going to work. Or I really thought this, style of coaching or doing this or approaching it this way would work. Didn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board. So I'm excited to see like what his ability is to, and it seems like it's high, to look at himself, to look at his coaching staff and be like, this isn't working. We have to change something. We have to fix something.
I mean, we saw that just based off the defensive coordinator stuff. He's into doing the play calling, and outside of the Ohio State game, it's done really well with him calling the plays. It seems like we're getting more blitzes than we were with Kane calling plays. We're doing more stunts at the defensive line, and things just look a little better. And I know you guys are going to disagree with this, it seems like the back end in the secondary seems a little bit more competent when Walters was calling the plays compared to Kane. I don't know if Kane was just like holding stuff to the vest a little bit and being a little bit more conservative, but it seems like Walters is like, screw it.
I agree with that partially. I just don't know fully that I can agree that they've the secondary has improved that much in the last 3 games, just because one of those games was against Iowa, and that quarterback should have gotten intentional grounding for how far he overthrew his receivers that entire game. Like, he helped us out quite a bit.
Right, but like if you look at it from the back end, it looked like guys in the secondary were passing off receivers better than they were at Virginia Tech against Fresno State compared to now, where it looked like it meshed a lot better. And I think it was the former editor-in-chief of goldenblack.com. He tweeted out, I want to say a week ago, maybe or 2 weeks ago, talking about how like Walter's defense was really good when he has first-round pick corners. And I think right now, unfortunately, no offense to anybody that's there, but once we get to that talent level at the corner position, I think that's going to open up the defense because we can afford to leave those guys on islands more and loosen up what we do with the defensive backs and nickel corners and linebackers, where we're not relying so much on a guy like Sanusi Kane that I love. He is not a coverage safety. He's the smack the dude in the mouth at the line of scrimmage safety. And I think that'll open it up a lot.
I don't remember who was covering Harrison Jr., but they talked crap to him like the first couple snaps.
Oh, geez.
And I knew that wasn't going to be good. Like,
Yeah.
I knew at that
I
point,
think it was Rogers, wasn't it?
Alessandro, I believe. So
yeah.
I only watched the first half of the first quarter. I listened to the rest on the radio as I attended a wedding that day. But that was one thing they were talking about on the radio often, is that our DBs, meaning Purdue, the DBs were chirping at Ohio State receivers when they really didn't do anything to affect the play. Like the ball was just overthrown or the ball was underthrown, and then they were like chirping and getting in their face after. And the guys on the radio were just like, stop doing that.
Oh, of all people. I mean, you take their best wide receiver in a few years, and you're talking mad crap to him. It's not going to end well. It's just
here's an interesting question here, viewer question. Who was it on defense that called the Ohio State offense basic?
I have no idea.
That's honestly news to me. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because, I mean, when you're as talented as they are, they don't have to run the most complex offense. I mean, they're just like, Marvin Harrison Jr. caught so many passes in that game in double coverage that like only 5 maybe receivers in college football would have made. Like that one where he threw right in between Alessandro and Dylan Thieneman. One DB got a hand on it, like tipped it up. Like not many guys are making that catch. I wasn't even mad. Just like,
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Too. Yeah, there isn't a lot of complexities in terms of like motions and switches and changing formations at the line and stuff. But
Russ, do you have something to say about pal?
I was going to say it's Nick Scorton. That's who.
Was it Nick Scorton? Yeah. Chime in, Russ.
Yeah, he said obviously a lot of good skill guys, a good running back. I would say a very basic offense.
Okay.
They don't have to do anything flashy. Yeah. They're Ohio freaking State.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get. Yeah, they have
I would say, Frank said it looked like the first game we clearly were outmatched, and I don't know that we shouldn't have just expected that. Going into shorthanded as we were, that's what I'm saying. Like that was for people to act like, I'm sorry, like we've been Purdue fans for a while now, right? It's not our first year, and we can remember games where we gave up 50 burgers, 60 burgers, and until that late freshman to freshman breakthrough connection, it was 31-7. So I don't understand where people get off saying we're back to the lowest point of Purdue football.
Yeah, I don't know where these fans are coming from either. It really confuses me.
They're idiots, is what it is.
They've been around.
We're not going back to the Big Ten championship after a new coaching staff. And
is that what's happening? Purdue fans are getting too spoiled. That we barely made it to the Big Ten championship, and they're like, "Hey, why aren't we in the Rose Bowl? What's going on?"
Well, I mean, and we didn't.
I need answers.
Not to take anything away from last year's team, but it wasn't like we needed other teams to lose to get ourselves into the Big Ten championship. I mean, it just to call it like it is, call a spade here. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of what we needed for the Rose Bowl. But
whatever. One thing, and so I didn't get to watch this. Like I said, I was listening on the radio. Dylan Thieneman hit, I don't know if it was the backup running back, his name escapes me, but they said that like he was clearly concussed. Like,
Tavion or whatever?
Yeah, yes. So, I mean, was that the case? Is it a pretty nasty hit?
Yeah, so he got hit really hard, and then as he's running back towards the sideline, he full Tuas and like flips over.
And the official's like,
"Did you just say Tua?"
Yeah, and then he hops up and runs the sideline.
Well, and that and that was interesting too. That Dylan Thieneman were to be the one to lay that hit, because just last week we were, I don't want to say criticized, but it was pointed out that we're starting a true freshman safety.
Yes.
Not that I ever want to see anyone get hurt or anything like that, but hopefully now they understand why he's starting. It's not out of necessity; it's because he's a very skilled player.
That whole game, he was hitting like he wanted to send someone to the hospital. Like that kid was, I haven't
just
seen
before the play snaps. I mean, he's bouncing around. He's he's real high energy. You can tell he wants to go and
I think I
crack some
mentioned
skulls.
I think I mentioned it before. It's like he has a clock in his head that's about 2.5 seconds, and he just goes.
Yeah.
You know, like he does play super deep, and he is the last shot, but like he's not waiting for something to happen. He's counting about 2 or 3, and then he's picking a receiver or picking somebody to go hit. Like he's finding somebody.
I don't know who laid the hit, but there's an Ohio State guy. I think he's wide receiver. The guy hit, and then he's walking back to the sidelines and just collapses, falls. That hit happened right in front of my seats, and I'd never heard a helmet to helmet sound so like clack like that in my life.
That was the Tavion hit.
Was it? Oh my God, dude!
Yeah, because it was right. Yeah, it was right on the Purdue sideline, probably about the 40-yard line.
Yeah, 30
and 30. Yeah, and
pay attention, old man. We just talked about it. Yeah,
and then he gets up, gets right back to about the middle, east and west of the field, and just falls. I was like, ugh.
Yeah,
because that reminded me exactly like the Tua hit when he was like hopped up and walked over and then fell over again. It was identical to that.
Jello legs.
Yeah, there was an old guy behind me that when he fell, he was like, "Uh-oh." Like, that's not good. And
that's what I said.
The guy that calls out the game play by play.
No, I haven't. Well, this is my only game this year, but he wasn't there. But I did have some real dummies behind me who were like, all you have to do when playing against Marvin Harrison Jr. you just got to guard him close. That's what a guy said. Those are words that came out of
and that's the stupid part because
the players or the coaches never thought.
How much you want to bet that guy never played football a day in his life too?
I looked back.
I played Madden a couple times.
What do you? I was so upset. I was so mad.
Dude, standing Dylan is like Zach Edey with a headband right now. It's like
oh my God, dude! I'm in a whole different literal level and figuratively, but you get it.
Cody Michael Abrams says being a Purdue fan is like a roller coaster that's freaking so loud that I like he sings stars.
Yeah,
it was a roller coaster ride. But so I just talked earlier about, and sorry, this is kind of a sidetrack. I talked earlier about how Coy Beasley's coming to Purdue, big time recruit, 4-star safety. We've also got another 4-star safety coming next year in Luke Williams out of Naperville, Illinois. Who he also snatched from, I believe, Illinois. It was. So
take that, Bert.
It's pretty exciting. And then another highly rated safety. So we've got like 3 pretty highly rated safeties coming in next year, which is freaking awesome.
Russ brought up a good point on the group chat. I have 3 logos in my frame right now. And I just kind of realized that.
There's a lot going on.
If you wonder what podcast you're listening to,
just look at me. Hey, I just Russ pointed that out and I'm like, ooh.
By the way, guys, I didn't so I literally did not until we went live earlier a little bit ago. I couldn't figure out why Russ and Chris were like making fun of me for asking if we were going to go live tonight. I had no clue that I said, are we going to live tonight? I had no clue. No clue at all until like 20 minutes.
Hey guys, we lived. All right, good for us. Hey, attaboys. Russ is debatable. He could keel over at any moment at his age, but he's still trucking.
You take your Geritol?
I had to explain to Eric from the Ohio Pod at the game. He's like, Russ doesn't look that old. I'm like, he's actually not the oldest on the podcast even. Like we just, and I'm the one that makes the forgetful mistakes all the time. So Russ is actually one of the least like old people, but I can't let it go. He's old.
So we're all about that life.
Look at me. I'm being nice to Russ.
That's weird.
I don't like
you been drinking?
Normal.
Standing Dylan's a different breed. I tell you what,
dude, I'm loving it. This whole standing thing,
what?
My back kind of hurts, but we're having a good time.
I'm about to drop my desk down. I'm like,
I can't drop mine down. It's on 2 storage bins and a wood stool. Like there's no.
And you made fun of my lawn chair, and it's on. Storage.
You have a lawn. You cannot. You look like you're watching your kid's soccer game over there with your cage where you put your children.
Oh, hey, that's
just kidding. That's where he puts his. Allegedly.
I'm old. I'm not that crazy. Come on.
I don't know. No, that's where your dog stays.
Did we just accuse Russ of a war crime?
So anyway, we're on a bye week this week, and then we play Nebraska coming up on the 28th.
Another game or a winnable game.
Yeah,
winnable game.
That's probably one of my favorite podcast moments is when Markel Jones was like, we were talking about the new coach, and he was like, kind of sucks, or like What was it talking about the new coach? No, it wasn't talking about the new coach, was it? It was something else.
No, he was talking about Scott Frost
leaving.
being
That's
fired.
what it was.
Yeah, I miss making fun.
He's like, it won't mean as much anymore. It's gonna go away. And
I'll keep it alive.
Greg McManus was like, I'll never let that go.
No,
like,
I miss being able to make fun of Scott Frost.
Is he even like coaching or anything right now?
I don't think so. I think in fact they pay him a lot of money. They have Anish from Boiled Sports brings up like it's his dream job to get paid to not do something. So like how head coaches get fired and they pay him, like Charlie Weiss, I'm pretty sure still makes money from Notre Dame.
Well, there's the one dude in baseball from the Orioles who gets paid like $1 million.
There's one from the Mets too, isn't there?
Maybe it's the Mets. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Bobby something or another.
Bobby Bonilla, isn't that?
Yeah.
Look at me, boys. Hey,
I think Kevin Garnett is still getting $5 million a year from the Celtics. And I think that runs through maybe the end of this year or next year. So,
well, the pod has to pay me $1 a year for the next 300 years.
No,
that's not how that works. Meal. It's not how any of this works, Dylan.
You know what, Russ? God, tough crowd. Jeez,
right?
I just want a stand-up desk. All right, we have one T-shirt in existence, and everyone wants one, but this is literally the only one that exists. We're trying, guys. We're trying. Okay.
All right, focus.
No. I won't.
So Nebraska is pretty banged up as well. Is that correct? Is Jeff Sims still out as quarterback, or kind of what's the deal? Does anybody have the 411 in Nebraska, or are we just all kind of going into this blind?
I mean, I will say, what is this? The two games that I watched them play, while someone looks up those stats, I watched the Minnesota game that they kind of threw away, and then most of the Illinois game, and that was some ugly football between both those games. And I'm not really intimidated by them. And I don't think you take Minnesota, Nebraska, and probably Indiana, and none of them have really looked impressive enough for me to be not thinking that we're like a 75-25% favorite in those games. Northwestern is kind of a wild card. They've obviously kind of figured something out there, maybe. With coming back and beating Minnesota, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if we finish 6-6, and those games are not that big of a deal.
I'm not convinced Matt Rule's style of football plays well in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But I mean, Matt Rule also has a history of tanking in the first year, and then they go like they win like 9 to 10 games.
That's why both those things combined. Just the game, even though it's at Nebraska, does not worry me. Like, yeah, it's still Big Ten football. You're still on the road. You've got to get up for that game. But I think these guys, you can tell they do not like losing. This is not a throwaway year for them. They want to go to a bowl game, and they know that their feet are to the fire because Michigan's still on the schedule. So every game besides Michigan is must win right now if they want to play a bowl game. So
yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'm seeing is like Nebraska. Let me see where is it at? I just lost it.
So Matt Rule has been treating Jeff Sims' injury very similar to how Rondale Moore was treated in 2019. He was a game time decision every week for like 8 weeks.
I remember seeing that. Now that you say that, yeah.
So so in his absence, they've been starting Heinrich Harburg, who hasn't been great either. Jeff Sims, was not playing well. I mean, just to be blunt, for Nebraska, PFF grade of 46. Don't know how much merit y'all want to give PFF grades, and Harburg's only a 64. Neither are fantastic. But yeah, that's Jeff Sims is definitely more of the dual threat type of quarterback, where Harburg's more of the standard pocket passer. But the idea of playing another dual threat quarterback really scares me.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Jeff Sims is at quarterback on the 28th, that worries me just because of our streaks this year against mobile quarterback.
We even saw it this past weekend. McCord take advantage of it, from time to time, which I imagine was a film study thing.
Right. So yeah, I mean, honestly, and I don't know if we're going to score predictions right now or not, but just kind of from looking at their schedule so far this year and just the outcomes of these games, I could see it being like, kind of a low scoring game, honestly, like their game against Illinois where it was 20-7, where Purdue comes out on top. But so do you guys have any ideas for like score predictions or, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's going to be?
Oh, I thought you were done. I think I'm going to do my score prediction next week because I want to see how Nebraska gets out this week, because say they lose Sims this weekend, that might completely change my thought process and what the scores like.
Well, yeah, the one thing I want to add on too about the Russian quarterback and McCord last week, McCord is not a running quarterback, so that probably wasn't even in the game plan.
Yeah,
that he would take off with it. That's about like, Peyton Manning got a QB sneak or a bootleg once or twice in his career, but people did not game plan for that. It was sprung at the right time and it worked.
Well, so do you think that they maybe saw on film that we've struggled with that all season and then maybe implemented that as part of the game plan?
I was going to say, I feel like we should know ourselves too and know, hey, we've struggled with this. They may try to,
because that's what they said on the radio. They said that was probably a designed run because they saw on film that Purdue struggled to contain quarterbacks this season. Now the radio is not always right, but
I think that's the opposite. I think that Ohio State doesn't do it very often. So they knew when they ran that read option style handoff that we would crash down on it and it would be open.
Yeah.
Or both can be true.
For the listener, or for the audio listeners, I just showed what a handoff looks like. So,
thank you, Dylan.
It's a new aspect we have here at the
I was looking at my other screen. I didn't see that.
Well, and he only had 5 recorded carries. So it wasn't like he did it against us 15, 20 times. Like they sprang it at the right time or two that it worked.
Okay.
Like if he had done that whole game, I don't think it would have been anything that worked against us.
It felt like a lot more. It did.
I kind of second Chris's sentiments that I'm going to watch that game. 3:30 on Big Ten Network is Nebraska and Northwestern. I would watch that game and study it. Being a bye week for Purdue fans, that's the game. I know it's not the exciting game, but it's 2 of our Final Four opponents, and I think it's going to tell you a lot of information on whether we can expect.
He said the word.
It's like a transition.
Oh my goodness.
Well, and in that, we still have some questions we need to answer as well. Is Tyrone Tracy going to be back?
Mm-hmm.
What's the status with Luke Griffin? Is he done for the season? It didn't look like a great injury. But the offensive line played well actually against Ohio State. I thought they actually played really well. Only 7 pressures allowed by the offensive line, I think is what it was. So that, that was encouraging to see. So there's a lot of questions to be answered there. I know there wasn't a press conference this week where we normally get those answers because everyone's out on the recruiting trail. But speaking of recruiting, there was a certain top 50 player that Walters mentioned who supposedly on his visit gave a silent verbal commitment. We still haven't seen that. I know who it is, but anyone know anything about that?
No, not at all.
No.
It's silence, and I am really. You guys know how I feel about it. I thought it was silly that Walters came out and said that without a hard commit, but that's just me. So
I'll tell you what. One thing I commend him for is he just says what he wants. Like he just says whatever he feels like saying. I know he talked about going out in the field with Marcus Bowe's injury. And that was tough to listen to. I mean, that was really, really tough to listen to hear that. So that's just very different than what we're used to seeing from our football coach.
What he's referring to, y'all, is the coaches show last week. If you listen to that, he actually Coach Walters addresses that during the coaches show, talks about going out and basically holding Embo's hand and just telling him to look at him, look at me, look at me. Yeah, it was a kind of a goosebump moment for sure.
And he told him to not look down as well. I mean, that's just like, oof. Yeah.
Gosh. So what exactly is Embo's injury? Like, what was it?
They didn't say, but it's not. I mean, if you haven't listened to Walters talk about it, I would highly recommend it. It's not good. Like
I would guess it was some kind of compound fracture.
Yeah, because Walters even said, "I'm not a doctor, but I could tell what was wrong," and I'm like, "Nah, that's not."
And I mean, when you play a whole season without rotating out your O-line very often at all, I mean, that was unfortunately just bound to happen. So,
but that also brings up a good point. How bare was that cupboard left by the Brom regime?
I mean,
we lost Holstage, we lost Eric Miller.
We lost
Lawrence Johnson, no Jack Sullivan. All the people.
there's a lot of that. Brom left the cupboard bare. Well, he emptied the cupboard as he walked out the door.
I think it was maybe a combination of the two.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and trust me, I've made this case with plenty of Louisville fans that are all around me. It's like, oh, that's goes to show how important Brom was to that program. Look at their record this year. It's like, well,
the birds with teeth lost.
Yeah.
So they did. They lost to Pitt,
and we don't play 90%. Eastern Michigan for the blind. But
yeah. But another question about this upcoming Nebraska game is how healthy is Hudson Card? I think someone said, I think it was Kyle Rudolph was doing commentary, right?
Oh,
he said it was a left shoulder injury is what he's playing through. Like they just said it on there, and then no one had
Chris,
said
not
what
a
the
fan of Kyle
was.
Rudolph, apparently.
No.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that. Oh, he's a great tight end.
He's a good tight end. Horrible.
How we feel about Tony Romo?
I liked
Romo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Romo's great.
He's the GOAT, man.
Russ, we know you like Romo. Shut up.
I thought Rudolph's,
Love you, Russ.
I thought Rudolph's praise for Ross Aid was awesome.
Yeah.
Like he talked about coming in there and playing and like barely getting away with a win and how tough of a place it is to play and how he played at Notre Dame. He played there several times. That was back when that was a protected rivalry.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that.
I can't wait for that game
not
next
an easy
year.
place to
Yeah,
win.
Ooh, speaking of, this is off topic. That's me.
Cool.
The OHIO podcast guys had this guy from Notre Dame on their podcast, and he was electric. So keep that for a note for later. We got to get that guy on. He was awesome. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
So with the injury, and again, I didn't watch this. With the injury to Marquise Wilson, Derek Rogers was thrown into the starting job. How did he look in your all's opinion?
I didn't really get to watch the game. We had a bunch of family stuff going on.
Yeah,
that day.
I was listening to it.
How dare you guys spend time?
I was in Louisville though. I was in Louisville.
Yeah, my
Do you guys know where the Rubbertown district is in Louisville?
Yeah,
it's on the west side, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like off of this.
It's on the river
that,
yeah.
I was telling you guys that stunk. We drove through it, and it was
it smells terrible. Yeah.
I was like, oh, what's that smell? My wife was like, oh, I think we're in the Rubbertown district. And I was like,
that's
how do you
just
know
Russ's
that? And she's like, look at that sign over there. So
yeah, no, it smells awful down there, but it's like no one like lives down there. It's just all industrial. But yeah, it smells.
It smells.
We went to the Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular, which is really cool. Shout out to the Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular. It was a good time.
That sounds like a good time.
It is. It's cool. It's like they have like over 5,000 pumpkins that they carve, and it's all different themes. So like it was like adventure and TV and just all sorts of stuff. So there was they had like a Disney one. So there was like pumpkins with Star Wars characters on it. And
ooh, do you guys still? I mean, you guys, most of you have children, so you probably still carve pumpkins, right?
I did. We did.
Sorry, I just thought you spent time.
We did this. Sorry,
my bad. God, trying to bring up a wholesome family moment, and Chris just wants to ruin it.
We did this year. It was the first time we've carved pumpkins. I mean, it was the first time like our daughter's like been interested in wanting to do that just with her age and everything. So we did this year, and I was like, dang, I don't remember the last time I carved a pumpkin.
You know what? I have an idea. Whoever carves a BXP Boiler Express podcast pumpkin. I haven't cleared this with the Blitzboard guys. We'll send you a Blitzboard. How about that?
Yeah, go ahead and count me out. I have no artistic ability
cool.
at all.
Awesome.
So
great.
Can't do that. But I know everyone else feel free to participate.
I meant the fans, not us.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Listeners.
Gotcha.
I don't want to use the word fans, but listeners. Yeah. Okay.
No, we have fans. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
If you're a fan, tell us.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just want somebody to like tweet at us just a picture of like an oscillating fan.
Some smart ass will, I'm sure.
Well, so we have 12-ish minutes. Sometimes we go over, but do we dare talk basketball for a second?
Hell yeah!
Oh, you mean the sport that we're good at?
Yep. Let's go.
Wow, Dylan. Whoa, man! I didn't expect that from you.
I mean, I love football, but I also love basketball. I had a sick jumper in my younger years.
Okay, I want to set the stage here. I think Purdue is better than their record in football. I really do.
Yes.
I mean,
agreed.
And,
I'm not putting down the football program. I'm just saying,
I mean, if we had Maryland's schedule, we'd probably have a good record.
Oh God, they're gonna come after you.
Yeah.
Watch your back.
We do have one common opponent with Maryland, and we beat them, and Maryland lost to them. So,
nerds
by transitive property, we're a better team.
Stupid turtles, he said.
Yeah, but no. So for anyone who doesn't know, we were ranked number 1 in KenPom. And love or hate KenPom. I know people are very polarized on that. The guy doesn't use opinions; he uses stats and math to generate his projections and predictions.
Fully functioning big brain.
Yeah. So it's not an opinion. It's just stats and metrics. Now it is preseason, and how he's kind of hush hush on his methodology, but he has alluded to the fact that he just takes what you have coming back, what you've done in the transfer portal, and uses that to basically project, sort of like human beings do, which is why we're ranked number 3 in the AP as well. So again, they just forecast what we did last year, and then extrapolate that onto this year, and then they come up with their rankings as well. So to condemn him
also
for that
predicted us to go undefeated, right? To win every game this year.
Yeah, I mean, and so well, he's not necessarily predicting us to go undefeated. He's saying that we have a more than 50% probability to win every game.
I got you.
So but some are as low as 54, I think 54%.
Yeah, I think the game against Gonzaga were predicted like a 1-point win game.
I want to address this this comment here before we get too far into this. Got a comment from Cody here. I almost pulled a Dylan and bought the actual Rowdy mascot suit. And my question for you guys, Coach Walters, you have the players watch the Nebraska Western game and scout for the weaknesses.
I don't care about the question. Cody, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you buy the suit, Cody?
So he could buy it from you.
I would have bought it off him.
I know it.
God darn it, Cody.
Now you can walk out of frame. Dylan, if you're mad, you can walk out.
Yeah, I'm done. All right.
I mean, I think that to answer that question, I definitely 100%. think that you have a watch party.
That's why I said it was your homework.
We're gonna watch. Yeah, you're gonna see. You're gonna watch Nebraska, because it's really the only
team
time
in the room.
Yeah, it's really the only time you get to do that.
Or honestly, split it up into position groups, and each one watch it in their room. Each position room.
Pizzas. Have a little pizza party.
The DBs can use the Stu Schweigert linebacker room.
Stu, we need to have Stu back on. Love you, Stu, if you're listening. Appreciate you, big dog.
Dylan walked off about Rowdy and came back talking about pizzas. Hey, get some pizzas, maybe some pepperoni pizzas.
I'm just saying, if you're going to have a watch
maybe
party,
some Supreme pizzas, maybe meat lovers.
Where'd you get your pizza from, though?
Ooh, so locally, Mad Mushroom, shout out. I saw Dave on Saturday, talked to him and his wife.
Nice.
Good to see Dave again. Haven't seen him since the International Pizza Expo in Vegas, like 3 years ago. I think it was pre-COVID. I don't know. Got a bid for it. Cody, you should have called me. Together we would have gotten the damn thing. God.
Yeah. So to recap, we're ranked number 1 in KenPom basketball. We're ranked number 3 in the AP poll.
2 in the coaches.
2 in the coaches poll.
Shout out to Banter for getting that. We got to give them.
You guys were so salty about just being flipped.
It wasn't a huge deal, but yeah.
It was.
It was.
Some respect on our name.
God, it was.
Echo.
Well, some there's a lot of fans of another Big Ten team.
Dylan stands up,
possibly in the same state of Indiana. They seem to think that the expectations for them, not that it matters, but the expectations for them are, national championship or bust.
Yeah, because they're breathing all that asbestos that's in all those banners. That's why.
The comment from Cody says, "Sorry, Dylan."
You better be, Cody.
It sounds very genuine.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, that sounds very genuine.
Man, you're like our number one.
Yeah, always in here. He's a loyal man.
He was gonna say fan. He was like,
he's loyal to the program. He's a friend of the program.
That's
for now on. I'm declaring it now. Whenever we make a shirt, hat, if we ever do, I don't know, Cody gets a free one.
Right. Well, his would say he needs a shirt like yours, but then it says 100 on the back because he's. Keeps it 100, and he's our 100th follower.
100, you gotta say like the kids say.
100.
100.
Yeah, he did win that 100th follower giveaway. That's crazy.
Yeah. So given that a lot of IU fans, a lot of IU talking heads seem to think that national championship or bust is the case for them. What is our blank or bust? Right? Is it Final Four or bust? Make the tournament or bust? What is our realistic expectation?
Wrong
what is
yeah.
The NBA Finals.
I'll throw this out there too. I think IU fans should be happy with the top half finish in the Big Ten because they lost a lot and they're doing the same thing they've done for the last 15 years.
Okay,
is they look at the piece of paper and go, "Oh, look at this star, this number."
So
national championship.
They're the Notre Dame of basketball. Guys.
Oh,
I will say that Mike has done a way better
the
job
IU
than any other
talk.
coach has there in the last 15 years.
I'm going to take one off of Boggs. I'm going to say they're the poor man's Duke or the poor man's Notre Dame in basketball because they aren't even ranked, right? So they think that they're great, but like the rest of the country's like, nah, man. No, Illinois is ranked, but you're not.
If you think like if we're talking Colts and Minnesota earlier, Indiana is the Colt of college basketball.
You know what? If they want to start off like we did last year and start off unranked and then become number one, as long as it's not within 34 days like we did, fastest record-breaking time to ever do that, and then lose in the first round, they can do that. That'd be fine with me. They can do that all they want. So
shout out to the Fighting Dickinsons.
So I literally saw a tweet. I don't know why.
Thanks for the laugh, guys.
But
I chuckled.
Yeah,
I saw this. I saw this tweet the other day. I mean, so this is like perennially, it's the best time of the year to be an IU basketball fan right now. Like,
yeah,
it happens every year. It's like,
so
it's like a month before the season. A month before the season starts, like they're hyped about recruits. They're hyped about this guy coming back, and
the football team's been exposed.
Yeah. Football team's not good. Like this is always the best. But I did see. What are we snapping about?
Oh no! Remember when
Tom Allen
was snapping their fights on the line? Yeah,
Cody, we appreciate you too.
Love
man.
you, Cody.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So yeah, best time of the year to be an IU fan, but we're where do we stand in the grand scheme of things?
I think that I'll be disappointed with anything but a Final Four.
Yeah,
I think that's where I'm at. But at the same time, if we get to a Final Four, it's going to be hard to not be disappointed for a while if we don't win it all. Because I feel like that's where our program's at. Is the expectation is, barring something crazy or the I word that you don't ever want to say, the Big Ten regular season should be locked up. Big Ten tournament, I'm not really worried about. All right. Like, I'm not really worried about the Big Ten tournament. I'm fine going out in the first round and being healthy for the big dance. Maybe at least win a game, because I know there's numbers out there that say you've got to at least win a game.
It's in Chicago
or Indy, one of the two. Yeah.
So I was
going to say, but yeah, as far as the postseason goes, I think you've got to get a Final Four. I mean, Edey could come back next year. I don't know if he will. I feel like, regardless of what happens this year, he either gets so overwhelmed by the fact that we didn't win it, so he leaves, or he goes on the high note because we won it all. But I think Final Four is where I'd be like, okay, at least we made the Final Four even if we didn't win it all. But if we don't make the Final Four, it's going to be pretty tough.
I think that's the goal, but I don't think I'm going to be upset even if we get like to Elite Eight, because you've got to think it's a 1.14% chance, or 1.14% of Division I basketball teams make the Final Four.
It's a big deal.
That's hard. Like, that's really, really difficult. Like there's a reason that you don't have a lot of like back-to-back national champions and stuff anymore. It's just because it's just difficult, especially in the transfer portal and things like that. So I think as long as we continue to play well and even if we get to an Elite Eight and fall, okay. I think if we get I think the goal is a Final Four, but I'm not going to be super squirrely if it blows up in our face, as long as it's not like a first weekend loss or something like that. You know what I mean?
Here's the problem with that is 94 schools have appeared in the Final Four. So on a 1 year basis, sure, you're talking about a 1% chance or whatever, but at some point we've got to break through at some point. Like, right. I get that it's a very rare thing, but
I will give Jeff Goodman this point. He brought it up last year, I think, after the tournament was over, that he said, like, no, it was either him or Dockich, I can't remember. One of them said after a tournament, like, hey, eventually, like, Purdue is getting the opportunity to get to a Final Four because they consistently make the tournament. Eventually, you're going to play the law of probability and eventually break through. It's just
that's definitely true.
I just want to be alive when it happens.
I want Katie to see it. I want Katie to see it.
Yeah.
Katie and Russ's hours are ticking. We got to hurry this up.
There's a couple things that are different about this team. One, we talked about before we went live. One thing is that Painter has finally come forward and said that he believes he's a major contributor to the problem. Not saying I agree with that, but if he says that, I back whatever he says. Is my stance on that. 2, when you think about Matt Painter, and you think about how he develops players, typically freshmen don't play a lot. Typically, a lot of freshmen redshirt, right? And so then they come in as, academic sophomores. They play 8 to 10 minutes a game. Sophomores, they play 10 to 15 minutes a game. By the time they're juniors, they're starters maybe. But we have 2 sophomore starters who played 30 minutes a game and who started every single game as true freshmen. So in the Painter program, these guys are basically the equivalent of seniors from a game and experience standpoint. So that's something different about this team.
Now, big banter, it's an atrocity that neither one of them were in your top 14 guards in the conference. But you got guys, you got guys that were on the bottom 5 teams in the conference on that list, but not 2 of the guys on the team that won the conference by 3 games. Like, get out of here.
Damn right, Russ.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Russ is referencing is our affiliate Big Banter put out a list of the top guards in the Big Ten. Neither Braden nor Fletcher made the list.
Braden hasn't made a lot of lists, to be honest. So it's not just Big Banner. He's not made a lot of lists.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm cool with that. I am totally cool with that because like when you look, because Braden Smith is the guy that everyone's going to call overrated, but they secretly wish they were on their team. Like,
and like this generation's Aaron Kraft.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm going to bash on Braden. He turns the ball over too much. He doesn't show up in big games. All those things aren't true. But like, man, if he were on your team, you would go to war for that guy. Like that's who he is. He's
the only guard in the conference that averaged at least 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists last year. Only guard that did that.
And he had 27% assist percentage. Like that's crazy.
But Russ, Xavier Johnson's coming back.
Yeah, Xavier Johnson. Yeah, Xavier Johnson's coming back,
and he played 5 or 6 games, and we're just going to assume that he's going to be great, even though the numbers he put up per game weren't as good as Braden Smith, and he's got 4 more years of experience.
But Russ, you must have taken a nap this afternoon. You were on it.
Oh, I did.
No, Russ did his research. I want to address this comment here from Cody. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Plus, I'm tired of having the team that is capable of winning it all, but we get to the Sweet 16 or whatever, and it's like we fold. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and Painter has said it's no longer an anomaly. Like it's got to be something wrong with his approach. And so some things we've seen differently. We've seen Braden and Fletcher get the significant playing time. We've seen him admit that. We've seen some scheduling. It
only
changes.
Took 17 years to admit it, but we've done it. Now.
I don't think he so much is. Did he word it that way? Because I think what he worded is it's easy to see that I'm the common denominator.
Yeah, that's what he said. Is I am the common denominator here. Is what he keeps saying. It's like he's like, I mean, basically when it says when the problem transcends different eras of players and eras of his tenure, like he's the common denominator. Like that's when you have to look inward. So he's taking responsibility. Now that being said, I don't think Painter told the guys like, hey, go miss shots. I mean, that's ultimately what Fairleigh Dickinson came down to. Yeah. You're 5 from 26 from 3. So, I mean, if more of those shots go in, who knows what happens? We can sit and speculate all day, but that's ultimately what it boils down to.
What I'm hearing from, my anonymous sources that we would have won that game, Frank. We would have
won that game. Yeah.
The thing.
Well, I mean, no. Who knows what would have happened if we won that game and how we would have progressed on.
The thing I really like to see, and you touched on it just a second ago, is the scheduling. We're scheduling teams that we normally get ran out of the building. And
I mean, so we're playing an exhibition game against Arkansas at Arkansas. Like that's we're going to learn a lot about our team in that game. Like that's probably going to be a sold out game. Arkansas has become a perennial contender in the last 5 or 6 years under Muscle. I mean that's crazy. I mean we have a super tough schedule. I mean is it the Maui Invitational, right?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean it's stacked.
Potential matchup against Kansas in that tournament, by the way.
4 or 6 teams are top 11 Ken Palm.
Yeah, I think. We're playing Arizona on a neutral court in Indianapolis, but we're playing Arizona on a neutral court. Dang it, it's gonna go down.
Travel, you never know.
Playing Alabama and Toronto.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, I actually wonder if that will go down as a neutral court game. So if you remember last year's game against Penn State and Philadelphia, actually went down as a true road game. It was counted as a true
I
road
think
game.
that
For the
it's
net
on
rankings.
the Ken Palm. I think it's counted as a semi-home game.
Well, it's. I wonder how the NCAA tournament
That's
selection committee will see it. If they'll see that as a home game for us or not. But regardless, I mean, I'm going to that game. I got my tickets.
This is really dumb, but I feel like it's going to be based on what the environment is, because isn't that how the palestra happened, right? Like it was initially a neutral game, but then like even the announcers all game were saying this is clearly a home game for Penn State. They're getting the ticket sales. They've packed the house. Like they've closed out the arena to Purdue fans. So like then they went back and changed it and said, okay, we're changing this to a home game for Penn State. So I think that's what happens is if Purdue fans pack it out in Indy, I think it will get switched to a home game for us.
But one other thing about this year's team is that, we're returning all of our starters, but these guys know how to grind out wins. I mean, when you look at last year's schedule, there are a lot of games that were basically just coin flips down to to the end. Like Marquette, we trailed most of that game. We probably, I don't want to say should have lost, but if you take a minute off the clock, we probably lose that game. We just happen to have the higher score. When the clock hit 0 at Nebraska, I mean that's one we barely scraped away with. At Ohio State, that's what do we conclude on the I did like an 8%. Like 8% of the time in that scenario, you lose that or you win that game. So like we got away at Michigan State. We got away with some games that were just ultimately coin flips. And so this team knows how to pull those out. We just couldn't do it in March when it mattered.
Yeah,
so.
That's one thing that I know I forget about Fletcher Lawyer is just how cold-blooded he really was at certain points of the season last year. Like he hit that game winner against Ohio State. He hit the game winner, I think, against Nebraska, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So the kid's got it in him to be that cold-blooded, games on the line shooter. So I'm hoping that it all just however the season ended last year, like, whatever changed and, nobody could hit the broadside of a barn to end the season. Hopefully whatever bug that was is gone. And these guys have kind of settled into where they're at and what their roles are and can, flip it around. So
I would love to see what some of the workouts that Braden and Fletch have been putting in look like, because Braden too, going into last year, he was hurt right into last offseason. He was coming off an injury. So yeah. And Fletch, I'll never forget the Michigan State game. Never forget it. When Izzone was chanting Foster's better. And what does he do? He scores 9 of the last 11 points and then assists Edey on the game winner. Like that's cold-blooded. They definitely got worn down because they're freshmen in the Big Ten, and it's a long season.
And Fletch was playing through an injury too. Like that's like a lot of people. Like I don't know why I argue with people on Twitter, but a guy today was knocking on Fletch, and I'm like, he was playing through an injury the second half of the season. Like, he wasn't playing like he did at the beginning because he was injured. It's kind of like when Sasha was playing with a broken finger. Everyone was like knocking on him. I'm like, he's got a broken finger.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap it up, I know Dylan wanted to shout out the Purdue Hockey Club real quick. So, Dylan, take it away.
First of all, I ran downstairs to grab this hockey stick, and I'm very out of breath. Beyond the point,
hold on,
boy.
Dylan, hold on one second. I want to address this comment here we just got from the Big Time Boiler. I really hope Painter doesn't start Morton at the 3.
Don't get Frank started, y'all.
No. I would love to talk about this for a second. For one thing about that at the 3, from what I hear, Brian Waddell is going to make a run for that starting job. From everything I've been hearing, is that he looks really good. So given that, would you rather have an experienced Morton or an inexperienced Waddell between the two? Because I know Morton
experienced Morton. Colvin's not starting.
Wow, I just want to win, guys. I don't care who freaking starts as long as we're winning games, for God's sakes.
Well, I think that when Purdue was a top 5 offense, a top 3 offense really for most of the season last season, and they had Ethan Morton in the starting lineup, you don't fix with what's not broken. But that being said, he did miss some layups. I mean, just some easy layups throughout the season.
And let's not forget too, Ethan Morton was a big part of a few of those coin flips. Why we won some of those coin flips, like the Ohio State game, he had that huge turnover.
He does glue guy stuff.
Yeah. He's got a lot to glue. So
And he's a great on-ball defender, and he, but yeah, he could stand to improve offensively, and he knows that, But I wonder if some competition at that spot with Colvin, with Brian Waddell, will just push him to improve a little bit. I think that we can see that. One more comment here from Michaela. You guys are awesome and amazing.
Thank you.
Michaela.
Wow, thank you so much, Michaela.
Yeah,
Bless your heart.
we appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in.
You just hit her with a bless your heart.
Wow.
Well,
Okay,
sorry.
All right, talk about your stick,
From
Dylan.
Mississippi or what?
Dylan, sorry to interrupt you. Just wanted to address that.
No, I'm glad you
thought
did
was
that
a great
because I
comment.
was able
Yeah.
to catch my breath again. So thank you.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to shout out the Purdue hockey team. Yes, we do have a hockey team. Boiler up, Michaela. So they split the weekend series with Miami of Ohio. Really coming in hot there. A hat trick by the man, the myth, the legend, Tyler Groen. I think I'm saying his last name wrong, probably. But we're gonna have him on the podcast in the next few weeks.
Heck yeah.
So as a hockey guy, as well, I mean, Chris is too. Go Blackhawks, by the way.
Preds.
Don't listen to
Come on,
Nick.
Preds.
Nick's,
Let's go, Preds.
Nick's are what?
Blackhawks, baby.
Russ, please go back to bed.
Predators
Anyway,
is a weird team name.
it's a tough name.
Yeah,
That's a
it's-
bad name. You really
Put you on a list. is what-
the fighting Chris Hansons, as I like to call them.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
their kryptonite.
Okay. All right.
Should be their mascot. Anyway, if you're on campus, go watch Purdue hockey. Great club they got going on there. Good group of people. I think we're gonna have Tyler on the podcast in the next few weeks, hopefully, and talk some hockey.
Hockey.
Ross, Russ, whatever your name is. I don't say. Apparently, you're a Preds fan. That's unfortunate. Just now
That is.
learning about that, but
I mean, I like
Yeah.
Kane.
I
like
already
teams that underperform.
disrespected you.
You know,
Go Sabres.
see, I can respect the Sabres.
Or
fan.
if
They-
you've watched The Office, that's Sabres.
Sabres. See, but Sabres fans, that means Cody there stuck to him for a long time because
Yeah. He's been through the. He's
hadn't been great. Anyway, go Hawks, go Blue Jackets. I also, they're the hometown team, but the Blackhawks are the Blackhawks.
You just have an affinity for not liking. Well, you like the Bengals, but they're pretty much
Thank you.
Kentucky
And
team.
the Reds.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty much
sorry.
Kentucky
Yeah,
team.
Kentucky. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Even though I don't like FC Cincinnati, aka FC Kentucky. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna have the hockey team on the pod here soon. Interview them, change things up a little bit. Hockey is probably not arguably, is the best sport in the world. So
second, third, depending on.
wow.
Like-
Okay.
Well, anyway, guys,
Hey,
we're gonna go ahead
guys, remember
and,
Zach Eady played hockey. Okay.
Yeah. And baseball.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up
Congratulations.
here, guys.
That's
One
news
thing I
to
do
me.
want to say though is sometime I've been seeing all these people of different sports playing in stadiums where you don't play that sport, like Nebraska's volleyball team playing at their football stadium, the Iowa women's basketball team playing at the football stadium. So I just want to see the Purdue Boilermakers play at like Lucas Oil or something, because I said Ross-Ade and everybody was like, the grass, man, the grass. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I forgot we care so much about grass here at Purdue. So
that would be cool.
really cool.
Having a game at Lucas Oil, I would go to that.
Do you guys think we could sell? Do you guys think that they could get over 50K for Lucas Oil?
Oh yeah, 50K.
Purdue?
I mean, I thought you were gonna say if we could sell out Lucas
For
Oil.
a
I don't know.
basketball game?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, they would do
especially
it.
if you get like IU in there, or like we play Butler in there. Like you make it a kind of a
Like if
somebody.
the Arkansas Purdue game was at Lucas Oil.
Ooh, yeah,
I think you would have to have like $5 tickets.
yeah,
But yeah,
and
yeah.
beer. You'd have to have dollar beer night.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, because have you all set up at the top row of some of these football stadiums?
yeah.
And
Can't see
imagine
nothing.
that the basketball
Lucas Oil
court
is
is like
terrifying.
a third. Yeah,
The Shamrock.
I watched
Series?
WrestleMania at Mercedes-Benz Dome
Okay,
in
whatever.
New Orleans. Okay, it's a little square.
That
all
is
right?
true. That is ridiculous. No, but I remember the Shamrock series was the first time I've been up. So like the nosebleeds at Lucas Oil,
Uh-huh.
my knees were shaking.
They're
Like, I
it's
was-
really not that bad.
But I've been
It's
on the
kind of like
field.
being in the balcony at Assembly Hall.
not
I've
even close.
I've been on the field at Lucas Oil, and you look up, and it's kind of like holy shit,
guys,
Like,
don't
it's-
dog Lucas Oil around Chris. He's gonna let you know.
I love Lucas Oil. I'm a Bengals fan. The Bengals stadium is poop. Like
Football should
Lucas
be played
Oil.
outside.
What if there's a guy
It's
named
literally- it's
Lucas
literally
Oil
Paul
watching
Brown
right now?
Stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole company. It's a whole. They do Oil. Lucas
But,
Oil.
Oh,
Football should be played outside.
do they make it down close to Louisville?
True.
Oh, Louisville.
Yeah, Lucas Oil's from Louisville, and
Frank, that's why Indy hosts the Super Bowl and not Pittsburgh.
Oh, damn.
So anyway, guys, we're going to
Rest
go ahead
in
and wrap
peace,
it up
Heinz Field.
here. Again, big shout out to our partnership at Big Banner Sports. You can check them out at bigbannersports.com. They've got 13 really good podcasts out there. They've got the
Really
Big Ten
great.
Huddle.
13 great podcasts.
Great podcasts. 13 really good ones.
Incredible podcasts.
And they've got sports betting. They've got, I mean, just everything that you could need if you're a fan of the Big Ten in general. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to
that one other podcast who listens to every one of our podcasts.
Yeah, shout out to you guys. I'm sure we'll see a tweet from you guys here in the next hour.
See
or
him
so.
in Slack, I'm sure.
One more random shout out, or maybe two. Shout out Raheem Mostert, leading the NFL in total touchdowns. Like, let's go, man.
Raheem the Dream.
Mostert.
I don't think anybody calls him that, but I will.
Also,
Raheem is averaging like 2.3 rushing yards over expected as well.
Damon's trying so
is
hard.
Like fourth in the NFL.
Yeah.
Did Frank talk trash about our fantasy football league at all? Frank's 6-0, y'all. He's got a 2-game lead in this fantasy football league.
I'm not a trash talker.
Knock him off. Somebody's got to knock him off.
I follow in the footsteps of Troy Polamalu. Speak softly, carry a big stick.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
That's so cheesy, Frank. God, just talk shit instead of having your big hair.
I bet you like Head and Shoulders too, Frank. God.
Troy Polamalu. God.
Like did Troy Polamalu need to talk smack, or did he just like everyone feared him?
Like it was no big deal. He ruined Pat McAfee's one chance at a touchdown.
I'm sorry,
I was at that game. I was actually at that game, believe it or not.
He has too friendly.
Damon really wants to end this. Can we end it, please? Can we go home?
All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in.
Is that somebody in the studio audience over there, Dylan?
Yeah, it's the one studio audience member who's watching.
Boiler up, hammer down.
Go home.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Actually, are we going to meet next week with it being a bye week, or because we've already talked about the Nebraska game a little bit? Are we still meeting next week? We'll talk about it.
Hey, why don't we just have one where we shoot the shit? Huh?
That's every week.
That's what we do every time.
Yeah. That's true.
We're pretty good at that, guys. All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Blitzboard. Shout out to Big Banner. Shout out to Martin Vintage. Go check them all out. And we'll see you guys next week. Boiler up.
Boiler up.